My name is Stefan Anderson. It's my pleasure to be the head of school here at Conserve School up here in Land Lakes, Wisconsin. And today I'm going to give you a very quick introduction to Conserve School. Whenever I talk about Conserve School, I always want to start by talking about where we're located, because Conserve School and sense of place go hand in hand in what we do with environmental conservation and stewardship here. So as you zoom in here and you take a little look, we are in a county, Violet's County, that has 1,300 named lakes and probably another 1,300 unnamed lakes. To the north of us, in Michigan, are a whole slew of additional lakes. And so we are very water rich here. When we talk about the land here, though, there's some very special aspects of this particular location. I've overlaid two different colors on here. This area was pretty much logged clean in the late 1800s, early 1900s, except for these 18,000 acres conveniently located north of Conserve School. Because when the loggers got to it, one of the gentlemen who was purchasing the land found it so beautiful that he got a bunch of friends together and they purchased this for their private hunting reserve. And many of those investors were steel guys from Pittsburgh. They worked for Carnegie and U.S. Steel, so they had a fair amount of money. We'll move forward a little bit to the 1907, and our founder's father, Mandel Lowenstein, had just started a company that bought and resold steel out of Chicago. As that company took off and he was more successful and decided that one of the perks of being successful is he should have his own private reserve up in northern Wisconsin, he just conveniently located it next to the place where the people he bought the steel from, because he understood the value of good relationships. And so they formed those relationships. It helped him in business. It also helped him forming some great friendships. Well, in 1960s, that area was sold to the Forest Service. In the 80s, it became a wilderness area, similar to the Boundary Waters Wilderness Area. No more than 10 people, no mechanized vehicles, a whole bunch of different rules that way. In 1996, our founder, Jim Lowenstein, he said, I want this property that I have up in Land Lakes, Wisconsin, to become the site for a school that will inspire young individuals to environmental stewardship. He said it a little bit differently in a lot more words. He talked about students who come here would learn to preserve land for recreation without spoliation for ages to come, but it's the same thing. So it's interesting. Steel followed steel, conservation followed conservation. We know that he thought about this for a long time, because in 1965, he began working on this project with his lawyers. And this is the first writing that we have about it. Since then, we've done a lot to make Jim's dream a reality. Here's a small view of portions of our campus. When we first started operating Conserve School, you may have heard that we started out as a four-year boarding school. We decided in about 2008, January of 2009 officially, that we could operate better and accomplish our mission better as a semester school. And so we do have a few things left over from the four-year boarding school that we're trying to figure out how to use most appropriately. So if you look very carefully at our baseball field here, you may notice that there's a lot of things in it. That's because as we were looking at the baseball field, it said, in-ground irrigation, 8-foot fence, garden and orchard. So you'll find an orchard in the outfield, and the apples are finally starting to really produce for us. We actually offset our costs by about $1,800 this year by the number of apples we didn't purchase compared to last year. And we have some gardens there, which are both, some of them are family gardens, and some of them are used by the school. When I was first married, me and my wife Jennifer, we didn't have a lot of money, so we used to take advantage from time to time of these little timeshare offers where you get a free weekend and a lobster dinner if you come up there, and all you have to do is just sit through one or two presentations. They even give you some free luggage. And it was always kind of nice to know what the bad news is, because they would always tell you what it cost at the end. And that was always like, well, you get all excited and then it's like, oh. So I thought I would start by putting the cost at the beginning so at least you could get a sense of where we're going. So first, the bad news. The full cost for tuition, fees, room and board is $25,000 a semester. Additionally, you're going to have some other expenses. There's going to be some travel expenses depending on how far away you are. There's required gear. Although the good news is all of the expensive gear, or the more expensive gears like sleeping bags, tents, bicycles if you don't have one to bring, we supply all of those things. But you're going to need to have appropriate clothes for the weather. It needs to have some good boots. And there's a $200 enrollment fee. But there is some good news. This year, all accepted students receive a $10,000 Lowenstein's Honors Merit Scholarship. So the max that anybody's going to pay here is $15,000 plus the $200,000. There's also good news. We have a very generous financial aid model, and you can actually go to our website, put in your taxable income from last year and the number of children in your family, and you'll know almost exactly what your tuition is going to be. So you could just go and look there and get a sense of it. Additionally, if for some reason you have some special circumstance where even that's a bit of a push, we have a system where you can talk to us about that. There's another little good news. So if your taxable income is below $65,000, right away you're only paying that $200. If your taxable income is above that, there's a sliding scale where you have that calculator. And if you're in a situation where you're eligible for free or reduced lunch, we actually have some funds available to pay for boots and things like that as well. So we really want to, as much as possible, not make cost be an obstacle here. At the same time, we do want people to pay what they can reasonably afford. So back to Conserve School. Here's a picture again of the campus looking almost straight down. This is one of my favorite classrooms right here. It looks like a little island there, but that's actually 4 John boats. They're all tied up together or come together. It's a history class is going on. You can put 5 or 6 people in a John boat. You want to have small group discussions. The boats just go to 4 different corners of the lake. You want to have a group discussion, you bring them all back together. The dorms here, we use these 3 dorms for students, and the other 2 dorms are used for guests or for visiting school groups that will come to visit. Down here is our recreation building right on the shore of Big Donahue Lake. I love that they put it on Big Donahue Lake, especially for the spring semester students, because Big Donahue Lake is big and shallow, which means it doesn't take long for it to warm up in the spring. It's always about 5 degrees warmer than the other lakes around, which is a positive thing. So what is Conserve School exactly? We have 4 W's and an H for you. First, our mission: to inspire young people to environmental stewardship through academics and engagement with the forests, lakes, and wildlife of Lowenwood. The mission for us is what drives everything we do here, so I want to break it down for you just a little bit. If Jim just wanted this to be a great academic experience that would inspire you to environmental stewardship, we could be located anywhere, all right? It's that engagement with the forests, lakes, and wildlife of Lowenwood which makes it key. And in case I wasn't clear earlier, and I probably wasn't, Lowenwood is what the family called the 1,200 acres that composes our campus here. What does engagement look like? Engagement looks like me asking the question, why the heck did we build such great buildings? Because the teachers are outside all the time. Engagement means 48-hour solo camping experience spread out across this campus after you've learned the skills necessary to feel comfortable outdoors. Engagement means not doing all your AP environmental science classes through simulations, but actually going out and painting grasshoppers, marking them, releasing them, and recapturing them to calculate the population, rather than just mixing a bunch of green and brown M&Ms in a jar and shaking it up and doing it that way, although that may be tastier. So we want to get you out there. We want to get you engaged. And not just on our campus, but we consider about a 50-mile driving range. So there's a lot of interesting things that are available here within 50 miles. Where? I already made a big point about that. Right here, right now. A lot of times people say, well, we're in Wisconsin. Why don't you take the kids down to the shack? Why don't you take... There are 1,000 great things in Wisconsin to see. And perhaps if you're coming from a farther distance away, you want to plan one of your flights in so you can visit some of them. But we believe that there's enough going on right up here, and we also want to minimize the carbon footprint of this semester, so we really focus on doing things here. The only exception to that is when we do Exploration Week trips, because it's such a great place to go backpacking. Some of the students go to the Pictured Rocks National Lakeshore up on Lake Superior. When? It's the fall or the spring semester of your sophomore or junior year. So people ask me, well, is it better to come as a sophomore? Is it better to come as a junior? Is it better to come in the fall? Better to come in the spring? And the answer is yes. You need to come the time that's best for you. So a couple different things to think about. Everybody, once they get here, we can't tell who's sophomores and juniors. There's nothing that we do here on campus based on your grade level. So don't worry that you'll be in the sophomore classes or the junior classes. You'll just be in the classes. So don't worry about that. But we do have to be ready for the classes. So if you're an advanced sophomore and maybe taking classes that are towards the honors level and maybe even mixing with some juniors, you'd be a good place to come. Maybe you're someone who really wants to be a leader in your school, and sophomore year might be a great time to come because sophomores don't get any respect anyway, right? The juniors and seniors want to run the school. People take pity on the freshmen, but people already figure the sophomores already should know it, and then they just don't give them any respect. So if they're not going to give you respect, come here, spend a semester at Conserve School, learn some extra leadership skills, and then go back and run the school when you get back there. So, that's something to do. On the other hand, junior year can be a great time too, because it helps build your resume for college. You're going to be maybe just a little bit more knowledgeable about things. You might get a little bit more out of some of the experiences. So it's really whatever works best for you. And then for spring or fall, we really do the same thing. We just do it in different orders because of the weather. So think about what other options and things are going on in your life as to what works best for you. Who? And this is an important who as well. We look for a diverse group of responsible young people who share a demonstrated interest in environmental conservation. All right, right there, that's almost our admissions criteria. First of all, we look for diversity. We look for racial, ethnic, socioeconomic, geographic, gender, all diversity, because right now, if you look at the statistics from the National Park Service, National Forest Service, the people utilizing our national parks are not as diverse as our country is. And if we want those to be protected over time, which everybody should, we need to have everybody out there enjoying them, valuing them, and wanting to protect them. Additionally, we feel that it's a benefit to our students to practice a little bit of communication with people that hold diverse views that they have, to maybe learn a little bit more about how to talk with people than to talk at people. And so that's something we spend a lot of time and we're fairly intentional about here. Responsible. That's a big word for us. We really don't want to spend much energy dealing with discipline issues or other things. It's our hope that if someone chooses to come here for 17 weeks, they come here for the things that we offer. They come here for the great education. They come here for the great outdoor experiences. They come here to meet 59 other amazing young adults. And they don't come here to see how much they can break the rules or how much they can get away with. So we work very hard with students who break the minor rules to help them stay on track. But if a student comes here and violates one of our major rules, and like drugs, alcohol, or has inappropriate sexual relations, this is not a place that they've chosen that they want to be, and they'll be going home. We actually have an honor pledge here that you hopefully will get a chance to sign if this is something that's of interest to you, which is a little different from a lot of camps or other schools that you might have gone to. It reads much the same for a point. It says, no drugs, alcohol, inappropriate relationships, smoking and things. But then it says, from this point forward until I finish the experience. So you're pledging that from that point, and it might be January or March, and it might not be till the next January, that you're going to be behaving appropriately. And of course, you probably already are, so it shouldn't be a hard thing. But it's been our experience is that students that try and take a 17-week vacation from bad behaviors usually make it about 11 weeks. So that's what we ask for, responsible. Then environmental conservation. We're looking for students that already have an interest in environmental conservation. They may not have been in a position where they could really live it. Maybe they have been in the inner city or some other place, but they should have shown it somehow, some interest. This is a program where our founder knew he could not reach every student in this country. So his hope was that you would come here and then you would go and you would be a little nucleus of environmental inspiration for your peers and your children and your grandchildren and hopefully your parents for years to come. How? We're a residential academic setting. Now, even though we're residential here in the North Woods, it's not as far away as it used to be. So it's a challenge, and I challenge you, if you come to Conserve School, to keep in contact with your parents and your friends, but don't let those electronic devices and things keep sucking you out of this community too much. Be part of the community. While you're here, you're going to learn some science. You're going to understand the science of natural resource conservation. You're going to build your commitment to protecting the environment. You're going to learn about careers and college opportunities that will take your love and carry it forward. You're going to learn an enjoyment of outdoor activities, or hopefully you'll find some new activities to enjoy. One of the things that you won't find a lot at Conserve School are the outward bound, sort of on the edge of your nails, think you're going to die all the time experiences, because we really want to focus you on experiences that you'll be able to continue to do without too much special equipment on your own, inviting your friends throughout your life. All right? I encourage you to go on and have a summer at Outward Bound or do some other things. You know, those are great experiences, but that's not what we're trying to foster here. We're trying to foster a little bit of a softer relationship with the outdoors here. I often say that I look forward to students coming to Conserve School, spending 17 weeks on this property, dating it a little bit, learning what it's like to fall in love for the first time or maybe the second time with a place that's very special to them. And then with Conserve School and Lowenwood in their hearts, they're better prepared for the next time that they fall in love with that area that becomes very special for them. Or maybe they go home and they realize, hey, I've known you all along, and I just didn't realize how special you are, and that relationship can tick off. So fall in love with the land, so love and respect for nature, and an understanding the value of being part of a community. When we set up to start Conserve School in 2009, I had the privilege of visiting semester schools all across the country. And each of the semester schools out there, and there's about 12 of them in the network that we're part of, and there's a few others that aren't part of the network, each has its own special focus. You might go to Oxbow, which has a focus on visual arts. You might go to the School for Ethics and Global Leadership in Washington, D.C., which has a focus on ethics and leadership. But regardless of which school you went to, we all share an aspect where it's that community that gets built. You're really with each other almost 24/7. Those are going to be your friends. You're going to have some conflict. You're going to have some joyous celebrations. But at the end of it, you're going to have a community that's going to be yours for life. And beyond that, with 120 plus new Conserve alums every year, you're joining a bigger network of conservation and environmentally minded citizens across the world. If you look at our alumni, and I'm not sure how up to date this represents 833 alums of the semester program so far and where they've come from. So you can see that we're spread out a little bit, and this doesn't show a few international students that we've had as well. What do we want our alums to end up doing? You know, people always say, well, Conserve School, you know, all your students, what do? Go work for the Park Service, or do they become, you know, environmental biologists? Do they become activists? And yes, they become those things. Some of them do. And some of them work for Google, and some of them work for Amazon, and some of them work for investment banks. Because I tell them, I want them to go out and make a difference and vote and care for the environment regardless of their career choice. And it is very mandatory that 5% of our alums go out and become filthy rich so that they can donate philanthropy to support the other 95% of them who are working in the less lucrative, but perhaps more spiritually lucrative things. And ideally, those other 95% or 10% or whatever it is are offering some great eco-vacation so that they're not just taking people's money, but they're also educating them and letting them see the great work that's being done. How do we achieve our goals? We do it with 4 core courses and 2 optional ones. So first, core courses. And this is something that sometimes becomes a catch for people, so I want to just stop before I show the courses. When I toured the country and visited all the different schools, I remember going to Chewonki in Maine. And Chewonki has a mission somewhat similar to ours. They do a lot of environmental things. And I was sitting there in a class on environmental ethics that was taught by their head of school, Willard Morgan, and one of their younger fellow teachers who was assisting him. And it was the best lecture on environmental ethics I think I've ever seen. I mean, I was blown away, and it was great. And so after that, I went to Willard and I said, Willard, this is amazing. You know, everybody should come to Chewonki and have this experience. And he goes, yeah, about half our kids take this class. And I'm like, whoa, half your kids don't take this class? Well, what is the equally amazing class that those other half of your kids take? And his response was, well, their schools won't let them come if they don't take U.S. history, so they're all taking U.S. history. And at that point, I made the decision that I wasn't offering U.S. history. And the reason for that is as follows. I've known a lot of kids that have gone abroad, maybe taking advantage of a Rotary Exchange or something else. And I can't imagine Argentina, if you went to them after being accepted for a Rotary Exchange program, a really great immersive program, and you say, I would love coming down to your country and studying, but you have to offer me U.S. history. No. We believe that if you're going to take advantage of a place-based educational experience, you should take advantage of as much of the things that the place has to offer. And we'll have some tricks and some ways for you if you need that U.S. history course to get it done and to make it work out, okay? So you're not going to see a lot of choice. And our 4 required core courses, everybody takes them. And there's some advantages to that. Everybody takes advanced placement environmental science. You actually get a year's worth of credit for this, so oftentimes you can just have that be your only science you take that year and use that other semester credit to offset something else. You also get a whole semester's worth of physical education, but through our outdoor skills class, and that's not like probably any physical education class you've seen before. You get to take an amazing English class, which is part literature, part communication, part wonderful, and a history environmental citizenship class. There's time for 2 elective courses in the morning, and you have some options. We do offer direct instruction in Spanish and assisted instruction in 2 math classes. We have both a teacher in the room, and we use a program called ALEX to offer those 2. So Spanish, pre-calculus, advanced algebra, we call those continuity courses because they kind of help you keep up with things. But at the same time, we have some electives if you don't want to take those. And right now, there's 2 choices. They may change between semesters, so I can't guarantee what they'll be for you. But one is Earth Art. I can pretty much guarantee you that that one will be available. And that's a great art class. It pulls a lot from the outside, does a lot of Andy Goldsworthy. Additionally, even if you don't take an art class, art is folded into a lot of our core courses, whether it be drawing birds in science or working on illustrating some projects for English or history class. So there's a little bit of that, and then there's a lot of art workshops and things after school. And environmental stewardship is for students who want to take it a little bit further, design a project to implement in their hometown when they're done with the semester. If none of those work for you, you can use one of the blocks to take an online course you arrange. So maybe you really need that U.S. history, so you take an online U.S. history to finish up that gap for you. I want to talk just a little bit about why this core course thing works so well. Let's look on Monday here. You'll notice that outdoor skills meets for 2 hours and science meets for 2 hours. If you're in this science class right here, you're going to go and then to this outdoor skills. You go as a cohort. While you're in science, there's another group of 15 students in outdoor skills. They then have science the second period. And what that allows to do is if the science teachers and the outdoor skills teacher want to do a longer 4-hour combined activity, they can put both groups together, have 30 students, 2 or 3 teachers available, and they can have their own little field trip without disturbing any other classes. It works out well. So maybe what they're doing is some water quality testing on some lakes spread throughout campus. Well, they can be practicing their portage skills and their canoeing skills and doing all those outdoor skills. And then when they get to the lakes, they can be doing their science and their measurements, and everything comes together. And they do similar combined things in the English and history class, because these kids, after being done with science and outdoor skills, then have English and history back to back on the next day. You'll notice that English and history also have a little bit of time on Wednesday morning, and that science has a lot more time in the morning, and that science has that extra time because it needs it in order to be worth a whole year. You'll also notice that outdoor skills doesn't have quite as much time on there, and that's because there's a lot of other outdoor skills time packed in, like a 6-night backpacking or canoeing trip and a 48-hour solo experience and some other outdoor skills workshops that are spread throughout. So what we expect of our students. We expect, again, and just a little bit repeat what I said before, we expect our students to come with a strong demonstrated interest in environmental issues. We expect them to come fully engaged in the program. If you want to come for a semester, but you realize you're going to miss 3 days here for this thing and 4 days here for this thing, and your family has that trip to Disneyland and you can't miss that, then this is probably not the right thing for you. We really ask that you look at your calendar and to the point that you can, make sure that you can fully engage with the program. A big part of that is we do so much group and project work that's really not fair to the other students to leave them behind. And in addition, this is not a thing where you're just working out of the book or doing worksheets that you can make up and take with you. I mean, it's hard to duplicate this when you're on the plane to Disneyland. It just doesn't work so well. So now we do understand that things will come up, once in a lifetime things, but as much as possible, we want to hold that. So 100% attendance, an honest commitment to the behavior pledge, embracing the curriculum. It's kind of like a roller coaster. You got a lot of time now. You're in line. You're just starting to get in line right now. But once you get on the roller coaster, they don't really let you get off partway through. It usually doesn't end well. So let's embrace the curriculum, make that honest behavior pledge commitment, and enjoy the ride. Even though it might be a little bit unsettling at times and exciting, you're going to appreciate at the end. So be open to trying new things. And then accept your responsibility for creating a healthy community. One of the things about living in a community like this is that you all come from different backgrounds. Some of you have parents that are more permissive than other parents. Some of you may live in areas which allow them to be so. Some of you may have strict rules or strict beliefs. And that's great. But when we come here, we have to find a common ground so that we can all enjoy the experience, which means whenever you live in community, you're gaining a lot from that community, but you may have to give up a little bit of your personal freedom to be part of that experience as well, to support your peers, to support each other, and to be healthy for yourself. We've got 1,200 acres. We've got amazing facilities. I mean, every student gets a private room. I mean, it's pretty nice. But regardless of the money and the energy that we put into building this facility, the real wealth at Conserve School is the people. And it's also the care that we put into constructing that class of 59 other students that will be with you.